I'm currently at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and behind me is the Aston Martin Valkyrie, which will be competing in this race.
But first, let me fill you in on the team. The Heart of Racing started out as a fundraising campaign to raise awareness and donations for Seattle Children's Hospital. It was bought out by Gabe Newell, who you might know as president and co-founder of Valve. And in the past years, they've competed with Porsche 911 GT3 cars, as well as getting into the D1 New Zealand series with Darren Kelly's Nissan GTR. However, more recently, they've partnered up with Aston Martin, and they've had great success in the GT4 and GT3 Vantages. Now, if you've been a close viewer to this channel for the past years, you might have recognized that I've been friends with Gabe's son, Gray Newell, who also happens to race for the team. And when he told me the news that the team finally got the green light from Aston Martin to enter in the Valkyrie as a competing hypercar to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, this was something that I surely did not want to miss. I was honored to get the invite from Gray, and I did not hesitate in the slightest to hop on a plane, get myself all the way out there, join them along for this big adventure, and share to you guys how this all even happened.
Good morning. This is the Chateau that we're staying at, and the town of Le Mans is already out in the middle of the countryside of France, and we are off to the side of Le Mans within itself. So we are definitely just out here, but this place is real beautiful. Let me show you guys. This place has one long gravel entrance, and then you walk up to it, and boy, is it grand. I mean, that's the size of a mega Sprinter van. You could just see the scale of this house. We come on inside, and we are staying on the top floor. We got 2 spirals to work our way up. Walk past a thin, creaky hallway with zebra walls to my room. Room tour. It is wallpaper galore and very old-fashioned, old money. There's the boys, Jeff and Jerry, 2 little donkeys. Don't be fooled though, because the bathroom is basically all brand new, all remodeled. Nice marble floors, nice new shower, and of course it came with goodies. Gotta give a huge thanks to Heart of Racing for having me out here this year. And we got swag in here and a race kit full of skincare. I've actually never seen this before on a trip, but we're gonna make sure our skin stays good out here. We got sun cream, moisturizer, all the goodies, shampoo, all that kind of stuff. Quite the classy accommodations for this year. Yo! We got gamer number 1, gamer number 2, gamer number 3, where he at? There's gamer number 3, Mr. Gray. How's it going?
Good, man. Ready to go.
So this has been our transport for every single day while here. Totally fitting, not excessive in any way, right?
Yeah. We like to keep it casual here.
Yeah, exactly. So back here, we had some PS5 games. We have the PS5 working, but we got to figure out where we can insert the GTA 5 disc, because we have a game case that came in this thing, but I don't know where in the world we put it.
I can't believe we have GTA 5 in the van before GTA 6.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe we have GTA 5 before GTA 6.
You couldn't find where GTA 5 inserts, but we got this going in the meantime. So Nick is gaming.
Dude, what in the wish.com Mario is this?
So we are headed on the way to the Le Mans track right now. This is a pretty big deal because you guys previously got allocated the street car, you guys got the AMR Pro race car, but now we have the Valkyrie actually entering in and competing in the league. And so how did this all entirely start?
Right. So it's sort of about 10 years ago, I think. Originally, those of your viewers who are familiar with LMP1, LMP1 was incredibly successful and impressive, but it suffered from some significant problems, the leading of which was cost escalation. Essentially, it was getting too expensive. When your car was $10 to $15 million and you were spending, you know, enormous sums of money per season to keep the thing going, manufacturers basically just started backing out, and by the end of it, it was basically just Toyota. But during that time, essentially the FIA, the ACO, and IMSA, and a bunch of OEMs manufacturers were brainstorming what the next version of LMP1 could look like. And their concept for that was something that was much more sustainable in terms of like cost benefit, meaning that more manufacturers could partake, and having a rule set that enabled a much wider range of ideas in terms of development. During that time, Adrian Newey sort of began his concept for the Valkyrie streetcar, which originally wasn't called the Valkyrie. And essentially what he did was shop around to try and find an OEM who would actually sign on and build this car. And he approached a couple different manufacturers, of the names of whom I'm sure you can guess.
Yeah.
And Aston Martin was the one who said, yeah, actually, we want to do this. We want to build this car with you. And, you know, this was a little bit before we came into the picture, so, you know, I don't have the who, what, where, and when of exactly that point in time, but essentially the idea was the Valkyrie was going to be like an old school homologation special. For those of you who don't know what a homologation special is, they're all the best cars of all time. McLaren F1, Ford GT, Porsche GT1, Straßenversion, and you know, like Subaru 22B were all cars that were built to be race cars that they needed to make a certain number of street cars of to make it legal to be run in a racing series. And so the Valkyrie was meant to be exactly that. It was meant to be a street car that was a race car that could then be a street car as well. Unfortunately, Aston Martin is a company that has significant ups and downs in terms of its financials. And so despite the initial sort of ideas investment into the Valkyrie being, you know, one of the first cars that would go into the Hypercar program, that ended up getting scrapped. It didn't make sense after there was a significant change of leadership. Lawrence Stroll bought the company and had a huge push for F1, so the direction for Aston kind of changed. Fast forward several years, and the Valkyrie street car is still going. That project is still moving, but the Hypercar program has started to spool up. You know, you've got Ferrari, Porsche, BMW, all the sort of the main different OEMs starting to get excited about participating in this new top level of endurance motorsport. And this was 6 years ago, where I sat down at a dinner with my dad and my now boss, Ian James, and essentially the conversation was, we're starting a new racing team. Not necessarily starting, but rebuilding the heart of racing, at which point my father owned. And we had been with Porsche, but then due to some exterior circumstances, the team had to essentially shut down for a few years. But the goal was to bring it back with Ian at the helm, and we had a conversation about what OEM we wanted to go with, and we narrowed it down to a couple. I sort of floated Aston Martin, who Ian was also excited about for his own reasons, and my sort of idea was that, well, Aston is sort of at this new point now. They're trying to turn a new leaf in their history. They're really trying to reinvent themselves as a brand and as a manufacturer, and I think that us being able to have a really intimate relationship with the brand would give us a lot of opportunities to sort of have a hand in the way that Aston is moving into the future. You know, and there's a lot of things that I didn't know at the time, but I'm very glad that I was able to sort of pinpoint that and sort of bring it forward and kind of back up what Ian was talking about on the racing side, because, you know, I saw what Aston was doing with the Valkyrie street car at the time. You know, they completely reinvented their range, and it's sort of important to know, like, if you go and are a racing customer, this is long before really our major ambitions of doing Hypercar and all that. This was really sort of at the beginning. You know, if we were to go and be a customer of Porsche or Audi or Ferrari, we would be one of many. You know, Porsche has tons and tons of customer teams, very prolific, but by being a customer of Aston Martin, you know, which has a much smaller customer racing program, we would have more ability to interact with them, you know, as partners instead of just customers. And so that seemed really compelling, and we ended up going with Aston, you know, not least of which was sort of due to interest and excitement around the idea of the Valkyrie. It's funny to look back at it in hindsight, because it's essentially the idea was we wanted to take over the Valkyrie program, as in not necessarily take over, but restart it, put the investment into it that needed to happen to get the program off the ground and get it going. And my dad was quite adamant and interested in doing that, and it took several years and a lot of setbacks and negotiations between us and Aston around who would be involved, what it would look like, and it was shot down multiple times. You know, it came up and was canned multiple times, and then just through sheer force of will and an enormous amount of hard work on a lot of really, really smart people's part, it got the green light. And that was early last year, pretty much.
Oh wow, super recent.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and it was funny because Ian wouldn't tell anyone because he wasn't even sure that it was actually going to happen. This was such a knife edge on figuring out that everything would actually be able to work. You know, it's not just, is this going to work? Are we going to be able to funnel the money into it? Because when it comes to racing, you can set a lot of money on fire in this sport and get nowhere. It was a question of, can we actually do this and have a successful program? It seemed that the stars aligned to, you know, and suddenly too, in that regard. Not even 6 months later, we had the first prototype testing in England.
Yeah.
You know, and that was just under a year ago that the first prototype, you know, turned the wheels for the first time. And now here we are at Le Mans, which is kind of an unbelievable achievement.
Yeah.
You know, our team has tripled in size since then, in terms of manpower. You know, the amount of work that's gone into this is staggering. You know, Roman and the other guys are on the simulator every day dialing setups in for the car. You know, they're constantly the work that goes into something like this cannot be understated. It is, you know, it's unbelievable how much blood, sweat, and tears has gone into this. You know, reviving this project that had been fully canned, several years ago.
Yeah, that's what I didn't know. I didn't know that that's Aston's plan originally, and then it got thrown out. And thanks to your dad and having the right people like Ian and everything all come together and organize it, you guys are able to make this actually happen and bring it back.
We've essentially taken over the program, which gives Aston a lot of freedom and doesn't infringe on their sort of F1 ambitions. So I actually think that it's worked out exceptionally well for all parties. I am really excited to see where it goes. You know, we're just in the infancy of this project now. Being here at Le Mans is, you know, 2 years ago was unthinkable. None of us even considered this. Like this was not on anybody's map except, you know, Ian and the very short list of people who were trying to make this happen. This car is a baby at the moment. There's so much to learn right now. We're not expecting to go out and win this race, and that's really not the point. What we're doing right now is learning the car, learning our team, you know, fitting the different pieces together. We're going up against teams who've been running top class cars for decades, right? So there's some catching up to do, but like I have immense faith in the people that we've assembled here, and I think that it's going to be an amazing project.
So something that's been in the works for almost the past 10 years was about to unfold right in front of us within the next few hours. We were dropped off at the guest hospitality suite and we had some time to kill.
So we've made it to Harder Racing's track hospitality suite. Got the open bar, got the sim set up, and then you could watch the race here.
These are a turbo V6. his tire was cut down, and then it exploded and blew bodywork off.
I'd say that Aston Martin in Harder Racing has one of the most stacked guest hospitalities because on display is an Aston Martin Valhalla. You can see it gathers all the attention of all the fans on the outside, but this is the little baby of the Aston Martin Valkyrie, turbo V8 hybrid. You can see it's got a lot of the Aston Martin design language. Massive active aero wing in the back here. Massive diffuser as well. I love how much room you actually have to get into the carbon tub. Lots of forged carbon. Way more room in here than the Valkyrie, that's for sure. That's nice. Although, not that much front visibility.
It's 1,000 horsepower. It's like an SF90.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is clearly like a pre-pro demo car, so.
You think that like an actual production one has been made yet? No?
No, well, no, they haven't finished like a production version of it yet. They're still doing some fine tuning.
Yeah, which is cool because the Valkyrie that's out there racing obviously isn't developing stuff for the Valkyrie road car anymore because the road car came first, but they're able to collect data and develop things that possibly could lead for this car.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was time we migrated over to the pit garage, and along the way, you'd see things such as prototype cars just casually on tow trucks. We had special exclusive access to see what a true 24 Hours of Le Mans pit garage could be like. And in the first bay, we were greeted by the Harder Racing's other entry into the race, the GT3 class Vantage, which just happened to win on Hyperpole the previous night, which qualified itself first, scoring the quickest lap, and this would put them right at first place on the starting grid. Now with this Vantage, they've already had prior years at the 24 Hours of Le Mans to break it in and to really be competitive, so this was the car that they were really striving for a win. And over in the other bay, I got to lay my eyes on their brand new entries, the Aston Martin Valkyrie itself. As expected, like most other cars in the pit garage before the race, the car had a lot of its body panels all taken apart, which was cool to see it stripped down in this form. Gray informed me that specifically for this race over in Europe, the Valkyrie was required to add mufflers, which obviously quieted down the screaming V12 that everyone wanted to hear. No doubt would still be the best sounding car on the grid in my book. However, I could only imagine what this thing would sound like completely unrestricted.
We are currently making our way over to the Gridwalk so that we can check out the Valkyries in their completed form right before the race is about to start.
The Gridwalk is an awesome opportunity to get to see all the cars competing in the race up close. However, be prepared to have to fight through a lot of people.
Into the sea of people. Man, it is so chaotic. I have found the Valkyrie. There she is. There's the road car, there's the AMR Pro, but then you have the LMH, the Le Mans competing car. What are the biggest differences with this car compared to the AMR Pro?
Yeah, so the AMR Pro is fully unrestricted, you know, similar downforce to an F1 car, more power, it's heavier than an F1 car, so that's where it loses most of its pace. But here the downforce is restricted. All the cars are limited to a certain, essentially, allowance of downforce, and you have to have a minimum drag coefficient. So the car has to be a certain amount of, you know, dragginess, effectively, so that you can't be too efficient through the air to try and keep everybody within a specific window. Power is down to 670 wheel horsepower, and that's over a curve, so all of the cars actually have torque sensors built into the axles, which are constantly monitoring power output, so you can't really game it. Best part of this series is that all of the cars have really, really different powertrains, you know, turbo, NA, hybrid, you know, non-hybrid. We're the only NA non-hybrid car, so which has some advantages and disadvantages. But essentially, this sort of bridges the gap between the fully unrestricted AMR Pro and the street-limited street car. But there's a lot of other important nuance as well. This is a race car, which means that it has to be built for durability, for longevity. When you bang wheels with the car next to you, you know, you need to be able to ensure that it's not going to damage the car car in a way that forces you to come into the pits. Serviceability is super important. I hope Jack gets a good video of them taking the car apart, but the car essentially comes apart in 3 pieces. You can pull the motor out in 30 minutes, probably less.
And the AMR Pro, you think it'd take longer?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, this car has basically been cut into 3 slices. You have the front clip, the rear clip, and the main body, and each of those pieces can be removed separately from each other. So say, the front aero gets damaged, the whole front of the car can come off and go back on in the course of a quick pit stop. With the street car or the AMR Pro, that's not possible. Other things include, beefing up suspension components that may have been like super ultralight carbon fiber in the AMR Pro. They're now much more robust and and also cheaper to produce materials that can be replaced quickly if necessary. So it's more to it than just, this is a detuned version. This is built for a different purpose. The motor has different internals, it has different camshafts, not because, it needs to make some different amount of power, but because we're trying to work within the specific power band that we have. So instead of trying to go for absolute maximum power, the car is trying to make its torque band over the widest curve possible. So that gives us really good drive off of the corners, especially when compared to like the hybrid and turbo cars we're competing against. Obviously we have the displacement, but it's those little things, those little nuances that really add up and make a difference as to, this isn't just like a slower version of another car. This is really its own beast designed for competition in a specific environment.
Yeah. I noticed on this car too, there's a ton of fins that you see. You see fins on the roof. Obviously fins protrude out from the wing.
Yeah, so all of these vertical aero elements there serve a double purpose. The initial purpose is actually safety, which you wouldn't necessarily think of, but for those of you who are familiar with racing, you've probably seen the infamous videos of the old Mercedes flipping over on the Mulsanne straight. And essentially these holes in the wheel wells and those vertical strakes are part of the safety package. The car has to meet a specific lateral drag coefficient. They'll put it in the wind tunnel and actually measure it sideways. And those strakes vertically are meant to keep the car on the ground in the event that it starts to spin. They also do help with stability, but then you as an engineer and a designer are thinking, okay, we have to have these. How can we add them in a way that's going to help direct air into our control surfaces? Everything has to have more than one purpose on something like this.
Yeah. Massive diffuser down here. You guys, huge tunnels. The tunnels go literally all the way through the entire car. And that's also pretty unique to this thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's unique to the Valkyrie among the other hypercars is our car specifically is designed around using the floor as efficiently as possible. We're less focused on the aero that's going over the body and more on trying to energize the bottom of the car to create that vacuum that sucks it onto the ground.
Yeah, I think to most people, this is probably in their head a lot more of an expensive car out on track than all the other hypercars because of coming from like the street hypercar background that it is. But would you say that there are elements like the motor or other things that are more costly driving this around than the turnover there?
The motors had more. Well, it's an interesting question because the motor, like we don't have to deal with the turbos burning themselves out. The motor is very robust, and honestly, we're gonna find out how robust it is in a couple of hours because we haven't run it for this long. But we did do a 36-hour non-continuous test, I believe. But like that's part of why we're here is we're learning the car. We're still trying to understand like where are the failure points. What do we need to worry about? What needs more development for when we inevitably update it?
It's just crazy to me that
big one's the brakes. The brakes are carbon on carbon. They're not like your typical carbon ceramic. Those are very expensive.
yeah. It's just crazy to me that this is a race car version of a multi-million-dollar hypercar that they're just putting into battle. So at any point in time, this thing could entirely obliterate itself, and that's just the risk that you guys sign up for.
Cars are meant to be driven. That's why we're here.
Exactly.
Well, the race is about to start. We are making our way over to the booth above the pit garage, and we'll kind of be centered at where the cars first cross the line. But it's the big moment coming up.
I've been losing it for many, many years, and if they're very proud of it, you can have
The race was officially underway. It was cool to see all the different cars scrambling for their positions. It was especially cool to see the GT3 Vantage leading first place because of their qualified position. And it was only a matter of time until eventually one of the cars did lose control, put itself over to the wall, and we got to see up close how quickly the pit crew team could repair this damaged Peugeot and get it right back out on track.
I think they're fine. They're going to send him back down, but he's got suspension. I think he has suspension damage. They're going to send him out, and he's going to come right back in.
I just watched half a car just get built.
And despite the car being muffled, there was no doubt that the Valkyrie was the best sounding car flying down the straight.
So the 24 hours have officially begun, and this is a race for most cars, but for the Valkyries, it is simply a test. This is in fact the first ever 24-hour race that the Valkyries are participating in. The car literally didn't exist over a year ago, so everything is new. They've obviously been testing. They've done a couple other races, but never a 24-hour one. So this is a true strength and fitness durability test for these cars, and we got to cross our fingers and wish for the best.
Right now, the major issue that we have with the car is ride quality, specifically the damper tuning. The car is sort of having this pogoing issue where it's bouncing around a lot, and that's going to take some time to fix because we have to keep the car stiff. We have to keep the car really stiff. It takes a lot of engineering know-how to solve that problem.
Yeah.
But you know, it's good to come here and see that we're moving. Like every race, we're getting better. We're getting closer to where we need to be.
Yeah, exactly.
With the cars starting to settle into their places, we still had several hours to kill, so we decided to go check out some of the displays.
First impressions?
I don't know, man. You put this next to a LaFerrari, this isn't gonna have a good time.
That's what I'm saying. I agree. I don't know.
Replacing this like one of the most iconic and beautiful Ferraris of all time.
That's important context.
So yeah, that's mostly what we're saying. Is it's like the the follow up is like, I don't know about this one, boss.
Isolated environment, it's fun.
Right. Like I mean, at face value, it's like, yeah, this is a pretty like reasonable design. It's just like in the history of Ferraris
leading up to it.
Yeah, we had F40, F50, even Enzo. I love Enzo, but
You had Fallout 4, then you had Fallout 76.
gamer terms.
Solid, yeah. We got it translated into what he can understand.
Now, of course, the Circuit of Le Mans is massive, and in order to view some of the corners, you have to go on a little bit of an expedition.
You got quite the lanyard collection here going.
You like this?
Getting all your stones.
This one I got for being his piece of arm candy. Gave it to me. This one I got for kissing him.
Oh. Man. You got special access for that one.
Yeah. We don't do that on camera though.
Is this your least favorite corner?
I wouldn't say least favorite, but it's definitely the one that gets a nice clench going. This is Indianapolis, which is almost flat out, and the almost flat corners are the most exciting ones.
Yeah.
You don't really know where the limit is until you've gone way over it.
I hear what you mean.
Second or third gear, I'm trying to remember. But 100 miles an hour.
That's insane.
Indianapolis. I don't know how it is to drive, but goated viewing spot corner on Le Mans. It's currently almost midnight right now. It's 11:54. Look at how many fans are still outside spectating. Right in front. You can see everybody perched up along the grass. It's packed. They're calling it early. It's around midnight. We're gonna head back. Time to hop back in the humble Uber.
Yeah, we like to keep it a little calm, collected, undercover here.
Exactly.
Don't go too crazy.
Nicholas is actually an A-list celebrity.
We're on a tight budget.
How are we doing?
It looks like we had a helpful local yellow, so it looks like that I think we're 5th right now.
Okay. In the GT3 car?
Yeah, the GT3 car. I haven't looked at the Astons actually, I just sort of like briefly checked.
Yeah, I'm like, are the Valkyries still out there?
I believe so.
The Valkyries are still currently in it. They are currently 16th and 18th place. So they're looking good out there. The heart of racing's real strength is in the GT3 car. That car is currently fighting for 5th place. We got some new entries that are revealed here this year coming to a future Le Mans. In 2027, you can expect to see a McLaren entering the top hypercar class. And of course, the body does look similar to that of all the other hypercars. It's got some slight McLaren facial characteristics.
Senna in the nose.
Yeah, some Senna GTR in that front end. I mean, this is probably my favorite angle of the car.
This looks very safe to me.
Yeah, it does.
Like they really didn't take any.
If there wasn't any orange on it,
Right,
it could
exactly.
be anything else.
Like, yeah, you could say this is I don't know, like an Orica LMP2 or whatever.
Yeah.
It would just be like, yep, it's a prototype.
Yep. The Koreans also want a part in this future race, so Genesis has a hypercar that they've revealed that we're about to check out. Genesis Magma Racing. Would you look at this? Okay, this is pretty cool. I could get on board with this. I just love how the nose protrudes this whole front piece, and you have all the aero flowing through there.
Yeah, so the lights go all the way around, just like they do on the street car.
Oh, they strake all the way over there. That's
They go
sick.
to the rear too.
Oh, no way. 2 mono lights in the back.
So it's they have their like double strake motif. And
Yeah.
there it is.
I mean, overall, these will all look similar, but I just appreciate the sculpting of this car a little bit more. It's just got a lot more curves. As the final minutes of the race approached, I made my way down to the pit garage to spectate the cars crossing the line. The GT3 Vantage was holding out strong, however, it looked like it would finish just under the podium, taking 4th place. And as for the Valkyries, they were still in it, currently rocking 13th and 16th place, but it looked like it would be once again another year with Ferrari taking the overall win. This was still a successful year for the team, as a first-time entry and first time ever competing a 24-hour race, finishing 13th and 16th for the Valkyries was definitely something that they could be proud of. And getting as far up to 4th place in one of the most prestigious races in the entire world is also something that is a great achievement. So I really want to thank Gray for bringing me out to this amazing weekend, and I hope you guys enjoyed learning about the background of some of these cars, and that maybe I've sparked some new Heart of Racing fans, because trust me, this is just the beginning for them, and I'm super excited to see where all of their racing goes.
Hopefully more V12s.
Yeah, I hope so.
NA V12s.
I hope so. Man. You telling me? I will never shut up to their engineers about give me a V12.
Yeah,
give me a V12.
put NA V12s, put NA V12s in that over there.
That's what I keep saying. Put the NA V12 in that with a manual. You would not be able to make enough to keep up with demand. That's what I say.
Yeah, and it could compete against the 12 cylindries and all that stuff.